There's, this stuff carved into the bedrock in India that just is mind-boggling. Very enigmatic, obviously left over from a time where advanced ancient technology existed.
The Lost Valley of Giants, Bada Valley's forgotten civilization. Imagine standing in the heart of a valley where time has stopped. A green basin hidden deep within the jungles of central Sulawesi, Indonesia. The air here feels heavier, ancient, as if the forest itself remembers stories long forgotten. Among the tangled roots and mist-covered slopes, colossal stone figures rise silently from the earth. Their faces eroded, their eyes fixed on something beyond human understanding. This is Bada Valley, sometimes called the Valley of the Giants. To archaeologists, it is one of Southeast Asia's greatest enigmas. To the locals, it is a sacred landscape, a place whispered to have been shaped by gods, spirits, or people who vanished before history began. Bada Valley lies within Lindu National Park, an isolated region surrounded by mountains, dense rainforests, and rivers that vanish into the mist. For centuries, the valley was unknown to the outside world. The people who lived nearby avoided the area, believing it to be haunted, a forbidden land where ancient spirits still wandered. It wasn't until the early 1900s that the first documented exploration of this mysterious place took place. Dutch missionary and ethnographer Albert C. Croat recorded his journey through the valley and introduced the megaliths of Bada to the wider world. His notes described something both awe-inspiring and haunting: enormous humanoid statues, stone jars the size of bathtubs, and carvings that seemed to belong to an age no one could explain. Over 400 stone monuments have been found scattered across Bada Napu and Bisua valleys, each varying in size, design, and orientation. Some stand alone as if guarding invisible gates. Others appear in clusters, half buried in moss and soil, watching over the forest like silent sentinels. The people living in nearby villages had no legends explaining who built them. They simply said, "These stones were here before our ancestors." That simple statement has haunted archaeologists for decades. The statues, known locally as arca, have distinctive human-like features. Oversized heads, elongated faces, round eyes, and carved hands resting over their bellies or chests. Some appear male, others female, and a few depict pregnancy, suggesting reverence for fertility or the cycle of life and death. Their expressions are oddly peaceful, detached, as if caught between worlds. The most famous among them is called Palindo the Entertainer. Standing over 15 feet tall and weighing more than 10 tons, Palindo leans slightly forward, his lips curved in a faint smile. Locals say he was once a guardian spirit who turned to stone after angering the gods. But his true story remains a mystery lost in time. Nearby, massive stone jars called kalamba lie scattered throughout the jungle. These cylindrical monoliths are carved from single blocks of hard stone, granite, basalt, and other non-local materials. Many have lids, some decorated with animal carvings unlike any species found in the region. Their purpose is still unknown. Were they tombs, storage containers, or something ceremonial? Some are too shallow for burials. Others bear marks of intense heat or melted residue, suggesting metallurgical use, perhaps connected to the gold deposits that once existed nearby. The sheer precision and uniformity of the jars have led some researchers to propose the use of advanced stone softening techniques, possibly involving heat, vibration, or ancient chemistry, methods that modern engineers still struggle to replicate on such a scale. What makes the mystery even deeper is that the Bada Valley megaliths share astonishing similarities with monuments found across the globe. Thousands of miles away in Colombia, the San Agustin statues bear striking resemblance to the Indonesian figures. Large heads, small bodies, similar hand placements, and symbolic genitalia. The same stylistic elements appear in Easter Island's Moai, massive legless figures with elongated faces and calm, detached expressions. Even older parallels exist at Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe in modern-day Turkey, sites dated to over 12,000 years ago. One of the oldest known human statues, the man from Urfa, carved around 9000 BCE, stands in the exact same posture. Hands folded across the abdomen, expression solemn, body without legs. How could such similar artistic and symbolic expressions appear across vast distances and time periods? Long before known global travel or communication, was it coincidence, or could there have been a shared origin, a lost civilization, or universal human language of symbols that transcended geography? Some archaeologists argue that humans naturally converge toward similar forms and symbols to express ideas like power, fertility, and divinity. But others believe these similarities are too precise to be mere coincidence. Everywhere we look in Bada Valley, we see evidence of knowledge, geometry, engineering, and spiritual design that feels out of place for the prehistoric tribes once thought to inhabit the region. The stones are carved from materials that are not native to the valley, meaning they were transported over significant distances. The terrain, steep, muddy, and forested, would have made this nearly impossible without organized labor and technology. Yet these stones were not crudely placed. They are balanced, symmetrical, and often aligned with one another in ways that hint at astronomical awareness. In some parts of the valley, groups of statues face east, toward the sunrise, while others form linear alignments pointing toward mountain peaks or rivers. Were these ancient celestial markers, shrines to gods of fertility, rain, and the harvest? Or perhaps waypoints in a spiritual map connecting sacred sites across the archipelago? The truth remains buried beneath centuries of soil and speculation. Despite the beauty and mystery of Bada Valley, scientific study has been slow. The region's remoteness, combined with political and environmental restrictions, has made excavation difficult. Lindu National Park is a protected area, a UNESCO biosphere reserve filled with rare wildlife, so large-scale archaeological digging is limited. What little has been uncovered hints at a complex and forgotten society, but without radiocarbon data or written records, the exact age of these monuments remains uncertain. Estimates range from 2000 BCE to 1400 CE, but some researchers, pointing to the extreme weathering of the stones, believe they could be far older, possibly dating back to the end of the last ice age around 12,000 years ago. Local legends add another layer to the mystery. The Toraja and Kali peoples of Sulawesi tell stories of giants who once lived in the valley, beings who could shape mountains and carve stone with their hands. Some say they were cursed by the gods for their arrogance and turned to stone as punishment. Others speak of ancient visitors who came from the sea, bringing tools and knowledge unknown to the locals, and who vanished after completing their work. These myths, though impossible to verify, echo similar stories from across the world, tales of lost builders, sky gods, and civilizations that disappeared before recorded history. Then there is the strange feeling of the place itself. Many visitors describe an almost electric stillness in Bada Valley, an energy that feels both sacred and unsettling. Archaeologists have reported compasses malfunctioning near certain statues. Locals avoid traveling through the valley after dark, claiming to hear voices or see glowing lights among the stones. Whether psychological or something else, the sense of presence here is undeniable. Could these monuments be remnants of a shared prehistoric civilization that once spanned continents? One that left its fingerprints in stone from Turkey to Indonesia to South America. Some researchers cautiously entertain this idea, connecting Bada Valley to broader theories about lost global networks of megalithic builders. The hypothesis suggests that before the known civilizations of Egypt, Sumer, and China, there may have existed an ancient culture of engineers, astronomers, and spiritual leaders whose knowledge was lost in a global cataclysm. Perhaps the same event recorded in myths as the Great Flood. Others take a more grounded view. They believe Bada Valley represents a local evolution of spiritual art, a society that built stone effigies to honor ancestors, gods, or natural forces. The exaggerated features of the statues could symbolize authority, fertility, or divine power, and the stone jars may have played roles in funerary or ritual practices. Even without a lost empire, Bada Valley stands as evidence of the incredible creativity of early human cultures. Civilizations that, though undocumented, achieved feats of art and engineering that continue to inspire awe today. As the mist drifts across the valley and the rain patters against the ancient stone faces, one truth becomes clear. These monuments were never meant to be fully understood. They were meant to endure, to remind us that history is far older and far stranger than we imagine. Somewhere between myth and memory, between spirit and stone, the builders of Bada Valley left behind their silent message, not written in words but carved into eternity. Echoes across Asia, Laos, India, and the network of ancient giants. The mystery of Bada Valley doesn't end within the rainforests of Indonesia. It expands outward, across borders, mountains, and oceans, as if the same hidden hands carved their mark on distant lands. Thousands of miles away, in the high plateaus of Laos and deep within the jungles of India, Assam, stand monuments eerily similar to the stone jars and megaliths of Sulawesi. They are silent, scattered, and ancient, yet they all whisper the same riddle: who built them, and what forgotten purpose united their creation? If Bada Valley is the heart of this mystery, then the Plain of Jars in Laos is its echo. Located near the town of Phunsavan in northern Laos, this remote plateau stretches for miles, covered in thousands of enormous stone jars. Some standing upright, others toppled, cracked, or half buried in the earth. Archaeologists estimate there are more than 3,000 jars across over 90 different sites. The largest jar measures nearly 10 feet tall and weighs more than 6 tons. Some are clustered in tight groups, others are spread far apart, as if marking sacred boundaries or forgotten routes. Just like the jars of Bada Valley, these Laotian megaliths are carved from single massive stones, often granite or sandstone, and sometimes from limestone or volcanic rock that does not exist naturally in the surrounding area. Whoever made them moved mountains to do it. Local legend offers a fantastical explanation. It speaks of giants led by King Kun Chung, who brewed and stored rice wine in these colossal jars to celebrate victory after a great war. The story is poetic, filled with pride and myth, yet within it there may lie a fragment of truth. Many cultures encode their history within legends. Could the giants be symbolic of an ancient, powerful people now lost to time? Could the rice wine represent ritual offerings, funerary liquids, or even alchemical mixtures? When French archaeologist Madeleine Colani investigated the Plain of Jars in the 1930s, she proposed a more sober theory: that the jars were part of an elaborate funerary tradition. According to her findings, the dead may have been placed inside the jars to decompose, and their bones later removed for secondary burial. Colani discovered human remains, beads, and iron tools near some jars, supporting her hypothesis. Yet other jars contained no human traces at all, only ash, soot, or nothing, leaving open the possibility that their purpose varied from site to site. What truly baffles researchers, however, is the striking similarity between these Laotian jars and the Kalamba of Bada Valley. Both feature thick rims, smooth interiors, and occasional lids. Both were carved from non-local stones requiring transport over rugged terrain, and both appear in regions where there is no evidence of permanent settlements from the era they were made. It's as though the builders arrived, created these massive relics, and disappeared, leaving behind only stone as testimony. If these parallels were limited to Laos and Indonesia, one might still dismiss them as coincidence. But in 2020, archaeologists working in Assam, India, made a discovery that deepened the mystery further. In the Dima Hasao district hidden in the dense jungles of northeast India, they found more than 100 giant stone jars spread across 15 newly identified sites. The jars varied in shape and size, some tall and cylindrical, others partially buried or lying on their sides. Their diameters ranged from 1 meter to 2, many with wide mouths and thick walls identical in proportion to the Laotian and Indonesian ones. Dr. Nicholas Skopel, one of the archaeologists involved, described the find with awe. "We still don't know who made the giant jars or where they lived. It's all a bit of a mystery. Every time we wander out we find new sites." His words reflect the astonishment shared by many researchers that these three distinct regions, separated by thousands of kilometers and oceans, all host nearly identical megalithic artifacts. Could this mean that an ancient network of civilizations once spanned Southeast Asia, linked by shared beliefs or trade? Or does it point to a universal archetype, a human instinct to memorialize death or divine power through the permanence of stone? To understand the magnitude of this mystery, consider the geography. Between Bada Valley in Sulawesi and Assam in India lie vast seas, mountains, and dense forests, natural barriers that would have made ancient communication nearly impossible. And yet these monumental structures seem to be siblings born from the same idea, carved with the same logic. They even share motifs, circular carvings, animal figures, and a peculiar uniformity of scale. If these were simply burial jars, why were they built to such enormous proportions? Why use materials so difficult to carve when wood or clay could have sufficed? The effort speaks of something more, a ritual, a technology, or a belief system now lost. One theory gaining traction among fringe archaeologists suggests that these jars were not burial urns at all but energy vessels, possibly connected to ancient metallurgical or alchemical practices. Some jars show burn marks as though subjected to extreme heat, while others contain residues of metals like copper or gold. Considering that gold deposits are common in both Sulawesi and northern Laos, the idea arises that these may have been part of an ancient mining culture, their jars serving as crucibles or containers in smelting rituals. Others have proposed that the jars were resonance chambers designed to amplify sound or vibration, a hypothesis inspired by their hollow form and uniform proportions. However, more conservative archaeologists prefer a cultural explanation. They suggest that a shared Austronesian or Proto-Mon Khmer influence may have spread these practices across the region between 1500 BCE and 500 CE. These peoples, known for seafaring and trade, could have exchanged techniques and spiritual traditions along maritime routes connecting Indonesia, the Philippines, Vietnam, Laos, and India. Yet even this explanation leaves gaps, especially when considering the sheer age and isolation of some sites. In Assam, many jars are found on ridgelines and hilltops far from rivers or settlements, places often chosen for celestial alignment or sacred observation. The same is true in Laos, where some jar fields face specific directions, possibly aligning with solstices or constellations. Could these sites have been part of an ancient astronomical network where stone markers across Asia were used to track the sun, moon, and stars? If so, the builders possessed far more scientific understanding than history currently credits them for. Adding to the intrigue is the damage these sites suffered during modern wars. During the 1960s, the Plain of Jars became a tragic battlefield during the Secret War, when the U.S. conducted heavy bombing campaigns across Laos. Thousands of unexploded bombs still litter the region, making exploration deadly. Many jars bear scars from explosions, others remain untouched, preserved only by luck and isolation. The fact that these monuments have survived not just time but war itself adds to their ghostly persistence. They have endured when civilizations have not. Archaeologists have attempted to date the jars through nearby burial artifacts and radiocarbon testing of organic material found in adjacent soil layers. The results suggest that the Laotian jars are at least 2,500 to 3,000 years old, possibly older. The Indian and Indonesian jars, though more difficult to date, could fall within a similar time frame, which means these megalithic cultures were thriving long before the rise of written civilizations in Southeast Asia. What ties them together may not be migration or communication, but a shared memory, a deep cultural inheritance passed down from a forgotten era when humanity was more connected through myth than geography. Across the ancient world, from the Andes to Anatolia, the same patterns emerged: giant stones, ancestral effigies, jars, and tombs carved from living rock. It's as if early humans everywhere were trying to speak the same silent language, one of permanence, reverence, and mystery. In recent years, advanced imaging and drone surveys have revealed even more jar sites hidden beneath dense jungle. Every new discovery adds to the enigma instead of solving it. The jars of India, Laos, and Indonesia may represent fragments of a once unified ancient culture, one that predated known kingdoms and collapsed before leaving written words. If so, it challenges our understanding of Southeast Asia's prehistory. These were not isolated tribes carving crude stones, but skilled engineers working with precision and purpose. Whether they served God's ancestors or cosmic forces, they built monuments designed to last forever. Today, as the wind sweeps across the plains of Laos and the mists roll through the jungles of Sulawesi, these ancient jars remain, cracked, silent, but unyielding. They are proof that the earth still keeps secrets older than history, older than memory. Somewhere in the rhythm of their arrangement, in the weight of their stone, lies the story of a world once more connected than we dare to believe. Imperial monuments and the quest for immortality. The Yangshan Quarry of China. Far from the jungles of Indonesia and the plains of Laos, another mountain tells a different but equally haunting story. One of ambition, power, and divine obsession. Deep in the heart of China's Jiangsu province lies the Yangshan Quarry, an abandoned monument to imperial glory. Unlike the weathered mysteries of Bada Valley, this site is not prehistoric. It is the legacy of a known empire, the Ming Dynasty, and yet it too stands unfinished, colossal, and inexplicable. Here, in a limestone mountain near Nanjing, lies a project so massive that even modern engineers pause in disbelief. 3 gigantic stone blocks, half carved, half detached from the mountain, were meant to form a single monument unlike anything the world had ever seen. The structure was commissioned in the early 1400s by Emperor Yongle, the same visionary ruler who built Beijing's Forbidden City. His ambition: to carve a monument, a stele or sacred tablet, to honor his father, Emperor Hongwu, founder of the Ming Dynasty. But the stele was never completed. Today the stones remain frozen mid-construction, 3 titanic shapes resting within the mountain, their surfaces scarred by ancient chisels. The largest block alone weighs an estimated 16,000 metric tons, more than 2,500 African elephants combined. It's so large that if ever completed and moved, it would have been the heaviest single object ever transported by humans. And that was over 6 centuries ago. To understand why the emperor attempted something so impossible, one must first understand his world. Emperor Yongle reigned during a period of immense power and confidence. China had just emerged from centuries of chaos, unifying under Ming rule. The empire stretched vast and strong, its cities glittering with temples and palaces. The emperor saw himself not merely as a ruler, but as the bridge between heaven and earth. His father Hongwu was revered as a divine founder, the son of heaven who had restored order. For Yongle to carve the largest monument in history was not just an act of honor. It was an assertion of divine legitimacy. The stele was to be composed of 3 monumental sections. The base, symbolizing the earth, meant to support the monument's immeasurable weight. The body covered in intricate inscriptions praising Hongwu's virtues and recording Yongle's devotion. the crown carved with dragons, imperial symbols of celestial power. Together they would stand over 30 meters tall, as long as a Boeing 747's wingspan, glowing under the Chinese sun as a stone testament to eternity. But fate, or perhaps hubris, intervened. As work progressed, it became clear that the stones were simply too enormous to move. The quarry sat over 10 kilometers from its intended destination, the Ming Shaoling Mausoleum, the burial site of Emperor Hongwu. Even with tens of thousands of workers, ingenious engineers, and the most advanced tools of the 15th century, the logistics proved insurmountable. Historical records suggest that after Emperor Yongl's death, the project was quietly abandoned. The unfinished stones were left where they stood, their size both a monument to human ambition and a warning against it. Today, the quarry remains almost untouched, as though the workers vanished overnight, their hammers, chisels, and wedges scattered like echoes of a forgotten dream. But to call the Yangshan quarry a mere failed project is to miss its deeper significance. The site reveals an astonishing level of engineering sophistication for its time. Ancient workers managed to precisely carve and shape limestone blocks of unprecedented size using tools made of iron and bronze. Archaeologists have found evidence of fire-setting techniques, a process in which the rock surface was heated with fire and then cooled rapidly with water, causing it to crack along controlled lines. This allowed massive sections of stone to be separated with surprising precision. The method was so effective that similar techniques were later identified in Roman and Egyptian quarries, suggesting either parallel innovation or a shared legacy of ancient knowledge passed down through civilizations. The scale of the work also hints at advanced organizational management. Moving even one of these blocks would have required thousands of laborers, meticulously coordinated in teams. Quarrymen, haulers, carpenters, blacksmiths, and engineers. They likely used wooden sledges, lever systems, and possibly even primitive cranes or pulley mechanisms powered by men and animals. Some historians speculate that the workers might have exploited seasonal changes, using frozen ground in winter to slide the stones across snow and ice, much like how European cathedral builders transported blocks centuries later. Yet, even with such ingenuity, the project defied possibility. The terrain between Yangshan and the mausoleum was rugged and uneven, and there was no way to transport such massive stones intact without breaking them. The Emperor's divine vision had surpassed the limits of earthly means. Still, what remains most intriguing about the Yangshan quarry is not its failure, but its precision. The surfaces of the carved stones are almost impossibly smooth. The angles are sharp, the lines straight, suggesting a level of geometric control rarely seen in the 15th century. Historians and engineers alike have wondered whether the Ming dynasty possessed lost techniques, knowledge of measurement, balance, or mechanical advantage that vanished after the project was abandoned. Some fringe theorists go even further, suggesting that the precision at Yangshan hints at the survival of far older pre-dynastic knowledge.